Hello YouTube, it's Carrie here. I am making a video response to Clusie's channel about overeating after weight loss. In her video, she went over self-improvements that she's doing because she feels that the way that she was using food was to fill a void. I think that there is a great tendency in our society to blame the obese for being obese. I don't believe in this. I don't believe that there's a basis for it. I want to break this myth. I don't think that it's based in reality and how the food system works and how our bodies work and how our minds work. Food can be the cause of addiction to food, and it can also be the cause of depression. I believe that obesity trends are related to the North American diet and our food system and the way that it works and the way that our bodies work. I want to start with the category of foods that consists of most of what you find in the grocery store and in processed foods, and that's sugar and carbs. So, a short history. Carbohydrate cultivation comes in human history around the same time as monument building. This stored calories that we could cultivate on a grand scale fed a population that built monuments, that was involved in a great deal of heavy manual labor. Carbohydrates are what fed a slave population throughout our history, not only a slave population, indentured servitude, anyone lower down on the socioeconomic strata. Sugar, on the other hand, comes in a little bit later. First, it was very expensive, and so it was only the very rich who could afford sugary confections, and they were the first ones to become super morbidly obese. As sugar cultivation became cheaper and more widespread, sugar became an ingredient that was found in more products and more readily available. And so obesity went from the higher echelons of socioeconomic status to the lower, and that's where we find it most today. These carbohydrate sources, like grains and potatoes and corn, are cheap. They are used as a filler food to make food cheaper. The more that you can fill up with a cheaper amount of food in a one box that you're going to sell to somebody, the more profits you're going to make. Now, the next thing is that the way that the industry formulates food, it has addictive qualities. And of course they're going to do this. They want to sell as much of their product as they possibly can. There is sugar in almost everything today. If you look at the grocery store, if you look at all the different ways that sugar can come into your body, different forms that it can be camouflaged as, it's in almost every processed food. And there's a reason for it. The reaction that your brain has to sugar, it's addictive. It has the same type of reaction in your brain as drugs. We have to understand that. There is a neurological reaction to our food, particularly when it contains certain ingredients. They're formulated so that you'll come back for more, so that you can't just have one. It is their prerogative to do so. They want to sell more product to you. They're interested in maximizing profits, not making you healthy. The impetus of the industry is to make money. That doesn't necessarily go along with what we need for our bodies. Foods are actually addictive in two different ways. They can be addictive in a way that there's actually a neurological reaction. There's also metabolic reactions that it causes in our body. The rise and drop in blood sugar make us hungry. And when we don't have that and our blood sugar is more stable, we are not affected by fluctuations in hunger as much, and so we eat a more normalized diet. Obesity follows the North American food system, and in fact, so does depression. Depression is a big part of this picture because we say that we're empty inside, we feel bad about ourselves, there must be something wrong with us, and that's why we have depression. There's something missing from our life. We never think that maybe the food that we're eating is actually causing this, but it does follow it. If you notice the rise in obesity and the rise in depression and prescriptions for medications that counter depression, they follow the same pattern. And in fact, people who are perfectly healthy come to North America, immigrate here, and then become part of this whole issue. They get obesity and they get depression and they get sick. They adopt the food first, and then all the issues follow. We can understand a great deal of this when we understand how the microbes in our gut affect our health and affect our state of mind. A healthy person has about 8 pounds of microbes in their gut. That's about the same size as our brains. And in fact, they produce about the same amount of neurotransmitters as our brains do. Serotonin, which is responsible for our sense of happiness and well-being, 90% of it is produced in the gut. If we don't have healthy microbes, we're missing 90% of our serotonin. How do you think that's going to affect you? How do you think that only 10% function in what we need to be happy will affect our state of mind? It's not rocket science, it's gut science. These neurotransmitters in our gut are also responsible for a great deal of our immune system function. They not only regulate our immune system function, but they also produce a great deal of antibodies. And these have far-reaching implications, not only in our gut health, but our whole body. It affects how we get sick, and if we get sick. It affects how irregular cells like cancer cells are treated in our body. When you have a high fiber diet with lots of insoluble fiber, it goes to the large intestine where different microbes are, and when they break it down, it creates something called butyrate, and butyrate kills cancer cells in our intestinal linings. They also go into our bloodstream and have farther reaching effects that we don't fully understand yet. Before you start blaming yourself for food addiction and not having enough fulfilling things in your life, and that's the reason why you're not doing well, or you're regaining weight, or you are unhappy and suffering from depression, you're obese now, and you don't know how you got here, you have to think about it a little bit in terms of the chicken and the egg. What came first? Is it that depression caused our food system and our food choices? Or did our food system cause our depression? Think about that. Which one makes more sense? And you don't have to be obese to be suffering from depression and illness that is based on how your body is functioning. You can be slim and have the same problems. Obesity only seems to affect about 30% of the population. But another 30% of the population is also sick, but they're slim. And nobody blames them. It's a mental thing that we have to get past. It's a cultural blame game, and it has nothing to do with reality. What came first was our food system, and then we ate it. It changed our microbes. The minute you eat something different, the microbe population in your gut changes. It is very, very quick transition that when you change your diet, your microbes change immediately. And so when we eat differently, our microbe populations are different, and it affects us in far-reaching ways we haven't even started to begin to understand. You know, when I had regained all that weight, over 100 pounds following my weight loss surgery at year 4, it wasn't until I completely changed my food that my body fixed itself. When you're eating the right type of food, you can eat as much of it as you want. I'm living proof of that. It wasn't until I fixed my food that my body fixed itself. Not only in terms of weight, but in terms of my mental game. I don't cry all the time like I used to. When I was eating the wrong foods, I was still suffering from depressive issues. I was just still suffering from debilitating anxiety and agoraphobia. And when I fixed the food, it fixed my brain. It fixed how I react to things emotionally. And not only that, it fixed my immune system. I don't get sick. I have not gotten full-blown sick since I changed my diet. My diet is the reason that I'm not sick. My diet is the reason I'm not suffering from depression. My diet is the reason I can handle more stress and anxiety than ever before. And my diet is the reason I'm 123 pounds today and not 253. The food comes first, not the illness, not the depression, not the sense of lacking something in your life. It's about the food, guys. And if we don't fix the food, we're never going to fix us.